Did you know that almost half of UK workers could lose their jobs in the next economic crash? House prices could plummet, leaving millions unable to afford a home. Meanwhile, inflation could push everyday essentials out of reach, and your pension might be in serious danger. The UK's economic power could shrink dramatically, leaving the country with less influence globally. But that's not all. The NHS could buckle under pressure, and the social safety net could leave people falling through the cracks. What would life look like if everything you've worked for starts to disappear? This isn't some distant fear, it's closer than you think, and the consequences are far worse than you imagine. Number 1. Housing crisis. The end of affordable homes. The UK housing market has already been facing a crisis for years, with house prices continually rising at a pace much faster than wages. This makes homeownership an increasingly unattainable dream for many Britons, especially first-time buyers. As an economic crash looms, the situation could worsen, with property prices potentially plummeting while demand for housing remains high. Renting will become the more viable option, but even rental prices may spike due to higher demand and landlords facing their own financial pressures. For many families, the dream of owning a home could slip even further out of reach. As the housing market falters, a major affordability gap will open up, causing a serious housing crisis. Even those with existing mortgages may find themselves at risk of repossession if their financial situations worsen due to rising living costs and job insecurity. This could lead to an increase in homelessness, with many Britons unable to secure permanent housing or affordable rental properties. The stark reality is that middle-class families, once considered secure in their home ownership, will no longer have that safety net. The government's response to the housing crisis will be crucial, but their ability to offer meaningful solutions may be limited in the face of a broader economic downturn. Affordable housing initiatives could become an afterthought as resources are stretched thin. For many Britons, the loss of affordable homes and the inability to buy property will not only affect their finances, but their entire way of life, leaving them trapped in an uncertain future with no clear escape. The effects of this crisis will reverberate throughout the nation for years to come. Number 2. Job insecurity, layoffs and reduced opportunities. When an economic crash strikes, job insecurity becomes one of the most immediate and severe consequences for workers across the UK. As companies face financial pressures, many will begin to downsize and lay off employees, resulting in widespread unemployment. Workers in sectors such as retail, hospitality and manufacturing will be hit hardest, as these industries are often the first to experience cuts during economic downturns. As businesses struggle to maintain profitability, they may also freeze hiring, making it even harder for job seekers to find new opportunities. The impact of job loss is not limited to lower-income workers. Even those in white-collar and skilled professions may face reduced opportunities, especially if their industries are closely tied to global trade or financial markets. Young professionals and recent graduates are particularly vulnerable, as they often lack experience and a strong network to fall back on. The gig economy, which many have turned to for flexible work, may also shrink as companies cut back on contract and freelance workers, further limiting opportunities. As job opportunities dwindle, many Britons will struggle to adapt to this new reality, with some facing long-term unemployment or underemployment. Without a stable income, individuals may find themselves relying more heavily on state benefits or financial support from family members. This sense of uncertainty and economic insecurity will ripple through communities, leaving many Britons with a growing sense of fear about their financial futures. With fewer jobs available and competition intensifying, the UK's workforce will face an incredibly tough road ahead. Number 3. Inflation and rising living costs. As the UK economy falters, inflation will soar, causing the cost of everyday essentials to skyrocket. Food prices will likely see the most noticeable increase, as global supply chains become strained and domestic production struggles to keep up. For many Britons, this means a trip to the grocery store will become a financial challenge, forcing families to make difficult decisions between buying healthy foods or stretching their budget. The impact will be felt most acutely by low-income households, who spend a larger portion of their income on essentials and are less able to absorb price hikes. In addition to food, other key costs such as energy bills and transportation will climb dramatically. With utilities and petrol prices on the rise, people will face a double blow, as both home heating and commuting become significantly more expensive. For individuals already living paycheck to paycheck, these increased living costs could tip them into financial hardship, making it harder to keep up with daily expenses. Those in rural areas or small towns may feel the pinch even more, as public transport options are limited and travel costs soar. This rise in living costs will result in a noticeable shift in consumer behavior. Many Britons will be forced to cut back on discretionary spending, limiting their ability to purchase non-essential items and services. This will have a ripple effect across the economy, as businesses reliant on consumer spending, particularly in the retail and service sectors, will suffer from declining sales. The combination of inflation and rising living costs will make life more difficult for the average Briton, leaving them struggling to maintain their standard of living. Number 4. Pensions at risk. Your future might not be safe. In the wake of an economic crash, the security of pension funds becomes a major concern for many Britons. With the stock market experiencing significant downturns, individuals who have invested in private pensions could see their retirement savings severely impacted. Defined contribution pensions, in particular, are vulnerable to fluctuations in the market, leaving many to watch as their hard-earned savings shrink. Those who have relied on pensions to secure a comfortable retirement may find themselves facing an uncertain financial future, unsure of when they will be able to afford to stop working. The UK government's state pension may also be at risk. As the country's financial position weakens, there could be a push to reduce benefits in order to balance the national budget. For Britons who rely on the state pension to supplement their savings, this would be a devastating blow. Older workers nearing retirement age may face a significant reduction in their expected income, leading to a lower standard of living and potential struggles to meet everyday needs. The dream of a secure, peaceful retirement could become increasingly out of reach for millions. Even those with robust pension plans may find themselves needing to delay retirement or take on additional work to compensate for losses. The fear of outliving savings will become more common, and retirement security will be one of the key casualties of an economic crash. For many, the idea of growing old without financial stability will become a harsh reality, leaving them to wonder if they will ever truly be able to retire with peace of mind. Number 5. Widespread business closures. In the event of an economic crash, small businesses are particularly vulnerable, and many may be forced to close their doors for good. As consumer spending drops and financial uncertainty increases, companies that rely on local clientele or operate on thin profit margins will struggle to survive. High street shops, cafes, and family-owned businesses will be hit hard, with bankruptcies becoming increasingly common. This could lead to the disappearance of well-loved neighborhood businesses, leaving empty storefronts in once thriving areas. Large corporations may not be immune to the effects of the crash either. As the economy contracts, companies will seek to cut costs by downsizing, reducing their workforce, and streamlining operations. In many cases, business closures will be inevitable, particularly in industries that are not deemed essential or that rely heavily on discretionary consumer spending. As businesses close, not only will employees lose their jobs, but entire communities will suffer from the loss of local services, which many depend on for daily life. The closures will lead to a domino effect, as reduced consumer spending will further weaken the local economy, causing even more businesses to fold. Job losses in these communities will be severe, particularly in small towns or areas already struggling economically. Young entrepreneurs, hoping to start their own businesses, may find it even harder to succeed in an environment where credit is tight and the market is uncertain. The overall decline in business activity will worsen the economic outlook, leading to prolonged hardship for many Britons who will face a future of fewer opportunities and declining local economies. Number 6. Health services strain. Increased pressure on the NHS. During an economic crash, the strain on the NHS will become more pronounced, as both the demand for healthcare and the cost of providing it rise sharply. As more people face financial hardship, mental health issues, such as anxiety and depression, will skyrocket. Many will struggle with stress related to unemployment, rising costs, and job insecurity, leading to an overwhelming demand for mental health services. However, the NHS, already under pressure before the crisis, will find it increasingly difficult to meet these growing needs due to staff shortages, funding cuts, and resource limitations. Alongside mental health, physical health services will also suffer. Routine procedures and non-emergency surgeries may be delayed, leaving patients waiting for months or even years for essential treatments. The rise in chronic conditions, such as heart disease, diabetes, and respiratory issues, will place further strain on hospitals, already struggling to manage an aging population. As the healthcare system becomes overwhelmed, wait times for emergency care may increase, and the quality of service could decline as resources are stretched thin. The financial pressures on the NHS will also limit its ability to invest in new technologies, medical advancements, and staff training, slowing down its ability to innovate and improve services. As the nation grapples with worsening health outcomes, Britons will find themselves in a difficult position, unable to access timely healthcare and facing long delays for even basic treatments. This breakdown in the healthcare system will exacerbate the overall social and economic challenges, leaving many to cope with the devastating consequences of an economic downturn without the proper medical support. Number 7. Rising debt. Personal and national. As the economic crash deepens, debt will become a looming threat for both individuals and the nation as a whole. For Britons, the immediate impact will be the escalation of personal debt as jobs are lost and financial stability crumbles. Many people will be forced to rely more heavily on credit cards, loans, and overdrafts to make ends meet. With rising interest rates, the cost of servicing existing debts will soar, making it harder for families to keep up with monthly payments. This growing burden of debt will result in many Britons facing financial ruin, unable to pay back what they owe. At the same time, the UK's national debt will likely increase as the government takes on more borrowing to stabilise the economy and provide relief packages. However, this will come at a cost. With the national debt rising, austerity measures could be introduced, leading to cutbacks in public services, including health, education, and welfare. The government might prioritise repaying debt over providing essential services, which would further reduce the quality of life for many Britons already struggling to make ends meet. As both individuals and the nation become overwhelmed by debt, the social fabric will begin to fray. Increased financial anxiety will lead to rising stress levels, contributing to poorer mental and physical health. The sense of security that many once felt about their financial future will be replaced with fear and uncertainty. With fewer resources available and higher debt burdens, both the personal and national economic outlooks will look bleak, leaving many Britons facing a difficult and uncertain future. Number 8. Social safety net strain. Benefits may be reduced. An economic crash will place severe pressure on the UK's social safety net, with welfare and benefit systems struggling to meet the increasing demand. As job losses rise and more Britons find themselves in financial distress, the demand for state support will surge. However, the government may find itself unable to provide the level of assistance needed, as funding cuts and a tightening of resources lead to reduced benefits for those who rely on them most. This will hit the most vulnerable in society the hardest, leaving many in dire need of basic financial support. For people reliant on universal credit, housing benefits, and disability allowances, there may be significant cuts to payments, leading to a sharp decline in quality of life. Individuals and families may find themselves unable to afford essentials like food, heating, and transportation. In this environment, food banks and charitable organisations may see an increased demand, but even they will struggle to meet the growing needs of communities across the country. Many Britons may face a harsh reality where the social support they once counted on is no longer enough to get by. The reduction in social safety net programs could also lead to an increase in poverty and homelessness. Without adequate financial assistance, many Britons will fall through the cracks, leading to social unrest and a rise in inequality. As the government cuts back on services and support, the social divide will widen, making it more difficult for struggling citizens to escape poverty. With fewer resources available, those already vulnerable will face even greater hardship, and many will wonder how they will survive in an increasingly unstable environment. Number 9. Loss of global standing. Economic power decline. An economic crash in the UK would have far-reaching effects on the country's global standing, leading to a decline in its economic power on the international stage. The UK, once one of the world's leading financial hubs, could see a dramatic reduction in its influence, especially in sectors like banking, finance, and international trade. As the economy falters, the UK may find it increasingly difficult to secure favourable trade deals, and the value of the pound could drop significantly, making it less attractive to foreign investors. This could lead to a reduction in foreign investment, which in turn would stifle economic growth and innovation. With reduced economic strength, the UK might find itself isolated in a global market that is moving towards more diversified and stable economies. The country's ability to participate in important international discussions, trade agreements, and investment opportunities would be greatly diminished as businesses and investors look elsewhere for stability. The UK's once prominent role in global trade could be replaced by nations with stronger economic foundations, leaving the UK struggling to maintain its competitive edge. The loss of the UK's global economic influence would also mean fewer opportunities for exporting British goods and services. UK businesses, especially those in manufacturing and technology, would face growing barriers to entry in foreign markets, leading to reduced profits and job losses. As the UK's economic power declines, its status as a global player in world affairs will inevitably shrink, pushing the country into a period of economic and political recession that could have long-lasting effects on its place in the world. Number 10. Mental health decline. Rising anxiety and depression. An economic crash will not only have financial consequences, but also a profound impact on the mental health of Britons. As job security vanishes and financial instability sets in, more individuals will experience increased stress, anxiety, and depression. The fear of losing a home, the struggle to make ends meet, and the constant uncertainty about the future will contribute to a growing sense of hopelessness. The long-term impact of such conditions could be devastating, both for individuals and for society as a whole. Young people and families are likely to feel the effects most acutely. Many young professionals already dealing with student loan debt and high living costs could face an overwhelming sense of pressure. Unsure of how to build a future, parents may struggle with the emotional toll of not being able to provide for their children or keep up with mounting bills. With fewer support resources available, mental health services will be under immense pressure, unable to meet the skyrocketing demand for therapy and counseling. For many, the support they need may simply be unavailable. The overall impact on the nation's mental health will extend far beyond individual experiences. As anxiety and depression rates rise, social isolation and family breakdowns will become more common. The economic downturn will fuel a cycle of mental health issues, making it harder for people to regain their financial footing and improve their well-being. Without adequate support systems, many Britons will face a future not only marked by financial hardship, but also by significant psychological and emotional challenges. The potential fallout from an economic crash in the UK is more devastating than many realise. Job insecurity, rising living costs, and crippling debt could leave millions struggling just to survive, let alone thrive. The once stable foundations of housing, healthcare, and pensions could crumble, leaving families vulnerable and uncertain about their future. Small businesses will close their doors, and large corporations will scale back, reducing job opportunities and income levels for countless Britons. The NHS, already overstretched, would be unable to cope with the increasing demand for services, while mental health issues would skyrocket due to the mounting pressure of financial instability. In this uncertain landscape, the UK's place on the global stage could significantly diminish, leaving it unable to secure the trade deals and investments needed to recover. As the economic storm worsens, it's clear that the repercussions will be felt for years, if not decades. What's at stake is not just financial stability, but the very essence of what many consider a secure life. The time to prepare and take action is now, as the economic winds seem to be shifting towards something much darker. The impact of this crisis will be far-reaching, and it could affect every aspect of your life. We've shared just a glimpse of what might happen, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think the UK could do to avoid this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video eye-opening, check out our previous one for more deep dives into pressing issues. We pour a lot of effort into creating these videos, and your support means the world. Just one click to subscribe, and stay ahead of the curve.